Welcome to H3 Live. You are here with Trish and Steve. Steve Bose, how are you?
I'm great, Trish. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
So,
Happy
yeah,
Monday.
I was going to say happy Monday. We were on the road most of last week.
We were, out at Oracle Cloudworld, and that's what I think we're here to talk about this morning for a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was really fun. And I don't know. I feel like it goes so quickly when they're there. So it's kind of fun to like come back and have, a day or two to sort of think about things. Are you like that? I'm like that when I get information. It's really difficult to
Yeah, definitely.
process it.
Definitely. I like to think about it, take it in a little bit, sort of assess what I just heard, maybe even read some more context about it. It's
Yeah.
very interesting sometimes when you go to some of the events we go to, and I won't pick anybody out by name, but there are definitely folks who do some of the things that we do who are just happy to learn something new that they just saw presented to them. And then 30 seconds later, at least claim to have a fully formed opinion about it. Right. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it'd be worthwhile to think about what you just heard for more than 30 seconds before you decide what it really means. But that's
I
just me.
feel the same way. No, and you know what? I think it goes back to the days of when we used to get invited purely as like bloggers, as social media, right? And you were tweeting out all of this information. Like I've gotten away from that a little bit. I don't know that that's as valuable. I might tweet 2 or 3 times instead of like 50 times, right,
Yeah.
at an event. But yeah, I tell you what, I did come away with pages and pages of notes,
Mhm.
not only from the event itself, but we had the opportunity to sit down with 2 of Oracle's really good customers, award-winning customers for their innovation in HR technology and specifically in business transformation that they've been doing. So, do you maybe want to like we're going to have episodes with each of them. Do you maybe want to touch on that first, and then we can talk about some of the
Yeah,
announcements?
we were happy to meet with folks we met with Northwell Health, a big healthcare provider in the Northeast, New York, largest private employer in New York, we learned last week, and
Right.
Quest Diagnostics, who folks might be familiar with as well, sort of healthcare related, healthcare
Yeah,
adjacent. I
Jason.
shared the story of how I recently had some blood drawn at a Quest Diagnostics facility and had a wonderful experience. Not so much the blood drawing part of it, but just the customer experience was fantastic. And so yeah, they shared with us, right, some of the stories of their HR and sort of business transformations powered by modern technology. And the Northwell Health one, which is going to run tomorrow, by the way, on the podcast.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, just a remarkable transformation story going back to right pre-pandemic, then pandemic era. They're managing just massive disruptions, huge crises. New York City is particularly right the epicenter of COVID in the early days. A
Yeah.
lot of their facilities in there, and then at the same time, they're trying to support employees, keep employees safe, upgrade systems to provide a better experience for employees, and help them manage this crazy time, right? Which we all want to forget, but we shouldn't, right? How awful that was and the impacts it had on
Yeah.
people. So great story. And Quest Diagnostics as well, right? Cutting edge, embracing innovation, embracing new tools. They seem very keen to explore and experiment and pilot new technology and solutions, which is really, I think, the hallmark of what's going to be successful
Mhm.
HR organizations moving forward.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you shared both of those, and there were even others that won awards. I know Wendy's was one. There were several others that were mentioned, but it's good for me, both former practitioner, but also analyst, where we're seeing real stories of how these applications are being applied and who the early adopters are. And these are brands, it's kind of comforting to see brands you know and trust and love that are, like you said, I mean, no one wants to get their blood drawn, right? That's just not a good thing. And that's really a sensitive time. Maybe you have a reason, right? That could be very serious to get blood drawn.
Mhm.
But if you can go and walk away with the perception that, wow, their customer service was great, and the employees are feeling connected to their work and they're enabled by technology, it kind of brings it full circle in what we do. So for me, I sort of look at it with that lens a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, we heard a ton of updates, which you and I will both be writing about in more detail, and again sharing a lot of the announcements that came out specifically around HCM, but also about generative AI in general across the entire suite. You know, I thought we'd take maybe a minute and talk about, they had talked a lot about Gen AI in the flow of work, and
Mhm.
they announced a ton, I don't even, more than 50 um, AI agents and AI analysts that help you look at the data, the large data sets, and really sort of distill those down to where you can empower yourself and your team and your leaders to take action. Love to hear your thoughts on that, because I feel like that's something that's really been missing, over the last couple decades. Really, we have all this data. We talk about insights, but like, I don't know, this feels like really, the rubber hitting the road when it comes to applying those. What were maybe some of your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think it was really interesting because I think we're seeing already in the AI space in enterprise tech the next evolution of AI, right? So,
Yeah,
version one was about assessing data, analyzing data, making predictions. Things like the very earliest expressions we saw in HR tech were things like, flight risk predictors, right? Things
right.
that we
Yeah,
saw about employees and maybe they're going to quit their job soon or not. And then we sort of fell into generative AI, right, in the last couple of year and a half, right. So, and lots of expressions of that. I saw a ton of them in 2023 when we were doing the top products process. So, text generation, text summarization, primarily, right, chatbot types of tools, automation of scheduling and things like that, which was great stuff, right? And time savers and powerful things. And now kind of the next version is a version 2, 3, 4, whatever, doesn't matter. But like these agentic kind of expressions of AI technology, which are much more about working with people in the flow, right, of their normal work and helping them affect transactions, affect processes, take decisions, kind of learn along the way. And so beyond just isolated point pieces of capability like an attrition predictor or a job description generator, these are more fully flowed, fully realized workflows or agentic supported processes. Like, for example, Trish, you mentioned there's over 50 right across the
right.
suite. There's about 20 of them specifically for the HCM suite. So things like new hire onboarding or a career planning agent to help employees figure out their next career steps. Employee hiring advisors, another one that Oracle's releasing, tools to help hiring managers, right? Understand candidates, interview candidates, evaluate candidates, right? And then make job offers and shift scheduling, right? Another really important one. So taking AI, assessing data and really helping organizations and helping people, right? Affect those things and those tasks that they're trying to complete. So it's the next evolution of AI and apps, and I think Oracle's leading the way here.
I think so too. I mean, we have a long few months ahead of us when it comes to just updates from all the vendors, right? But yes, early out of the gate, it looks like Oracle is solidly moving forward on that next generation of where things need to go. And again, I love seeing those examples. I mean, you named a couple of them. It's really about understanding how AI is helping us in the moment as we're doing the work, as opposed to, like you said, it's great that they can, you know, um, help you summarize information, large amounts of information. That's wonderful. One of the things, and this might be, I think you and I love that we kind of see things a little differently, but we get to the same place. One of the things we saw, of course, Chris Leone, their EVP, was giving demos as usual. He's so
Mm-hmm.
good at this. But showing in the flow of work. So, for example, if the AI agent is giving you information, you can actually click on the source of that information. Well, that's something that normally people would be coming back to HR for potentially. Like, oh, it's not just saying like what is the vacation policy or the sabbatical policy or bereavement policy, right? It's giving a very highly personalized answer to that employee or to that leader about whatever they're asking, and giving you the one or two or three source documents for that. So, or specifically around like the benefits. That was where I was kind of blown away when I saw the demo, because I mean, as an HR leader, you cannot possibly remember all of the intricacies of your benefits programs, right?
No,
But
impossible.
having those source documents right there served up to you, I thought that was really cool. So
Yeah,
it seemed
yeah.
like a small thing, but to me it was really big.
Yeah, it was very powerful, and a couple of reasons why I think as well, right? To help people who are using those tools understand where those suggestions or answers are coming from. And look, we're still not yet at the point where these AI tools are perfect, right? They
Correct.
learn and they evolve over time, and so that helps them, right? So to get better over time and to
Sure.
refine their answers and refine the way that they work with people. So I think it was just really, really powerful stuff. And not just again for HCM, but across the entire suite of applications,
Right.
which we've talked about with our friends at Oracle for a long time, is such a strength for, especially for larger organizations, but really any organization, right?
Yeah.
To have the ability to consolidate on the fewer platforms for things like HCM and finance and planning and scheduling. And it, it the advantages are numerous and profound, right? To be able to consolidate on on fewer platforms.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I think that was it. We started to see maybe more than ever before that connection between your HCM, but also your supply chain, right? And they talked a lot about that. There were lots of examples of how in finance, we heard several examples of customers who are using the entire suite, right? So that they're getting those benefits and those insights across the board. Um, Last thing, really quick before we go, though, I want to talk about dynamic skills because that
Okay.
was dynamic skills management was one that came up again and again. We heard from Yvette Cameron, who I know has been a guest on our show many times. Also from Chris Leone, Chris Havrilla also talked about dynamic skills. What was your take kind of on how they're moving forward with that management piece of skills?
Yeah, I love the approach because as more organizations are trying to become more skill centric, right? Hiring based on skills, evaluating candidates based on skills,
Mhm.
developing employees and assigning employees roles in the organization, moving away from formal degree, formal degrees, certifications, traditional ways folks were hired and evaluated. But managing skills is complex. There can be many thousands to many thousands of skills potentially out there. They can be managed in different places, right? We have applicant tracking systems, learning management systems, core HR systems,
Mhm.
performance systems, right? All potentially having skills taxonomies or libraries. And it can be very confusing for organizations to figure out just how do I manage the skills themselves, and then how do I allow skills to be used across all my talent processes. So what Oracle's really trying to do is provide customers with a place to centralize, right, the definition of skills, the management of skills, the development of skills, and then make those skills available across the entire suite of applications around HCM and outside of HCM. And then the last big announcement that they made was they'll even accept skills definitions coming from other places and other systems and work with partners, because there are partners that do things like analyze the labor markets and
Mhm.
analyze how skills are changing and developing in the supply and demand of skills in particular regions, right? There's a lot of really interesting technology going on around that right now. And with Oracle, you can kind of incorporate that data as well. So I love their approach, actually.
Yeah. You mentioned all the thousands of skills you can have too, and they've really kind of honed, initially I think it was, gosh, it was over 100,000 skills, right, that you could have. And they're really starting to refine that down. Now it's somewhere in the range of, that initial data set of skills is around 12 to 15,000 is what Yvette shared with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's wonderful. That's still a ton of skills, right? But I think the big takeaway there was also they're going to meet you where you are, right? So if you are a company that is advanced in your approach to skills evaluation and process and where they reside in your organization, um, they're there for you. But then it also is like if you really haven't started this, they've got that initial set that they will help get you going on, and then you can build or change, or as you mentioned with the partners too. I Again, we may hear about this somewhere else, but right now this is the first one we've heard. So
Yeah, and
uh,
I guess I'd conclude my sort of overall cloud world kind of takeaway a little
yeah,
bit here on the HCM perspective is saying the only two things, I shouldn't say only, the primary two things everybody's been talking about and focusing on in HCM and HR tech over the last 3 years right now have been AI and skills.
that's right.
That's everything else is fighting for 2% of the conversation, right? AI and skills have been basically half and half or so, or maybe they're dividing it all up. And the two primary announcements, right, that Oracle made in the HCM space at Cloudworld were AI and skills, right? Which tells me and should tell everyone that they understand what's happening in the market, they understand what's happening in the world of work and in workforces and what organizations need, and they're looking to address those things like front and center and head on. So I thought that was really telling as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I love, honestly, they kept tying it back to the core. So again, for all the practitioners out there, it's like when it ties back to your payroll, when it ties back to your benefits, the way that we bring people on board in a company, those are the day-to-day important things for HR professionals, talent professionals. So yeah, I don't know if we had to give it a grade, I'd give it an A for sure. So
I loved it. I had a great time. And
yeah.
Thank you to our friends at Oracle for having us out there. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And special shout out to Shasta, who takes great care of us when we are there and make sure we get everything we need in terms of announcements. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening in. Please stay tuned. As Steve mentioned, we have the first of the 2 podcasts dropping tomorrow, and you can check those out wherever you get your favorite podcasts, but also at hrhappyhour.net. And we will see you back here live again soon. Have a good day.